boys and girls. We have a wonderful guest here, author and illustrator, Scott Magoon, and he has lots to share with you, so I'm not going to take up your time and hand it over to him.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gleason. I just have to say thank you for having me today. I know you and I go way back. It's great to see you again, especially surrounded by all of these friendly faces in classrooms here and Read Aloud, Read Across America Week. So exciting. So great to be here with you. I can't think of a place I would rather be except maybe in person with you all, but this is lovely, and thank you so much for having me. I am Scott Magoon. I am an author illustrator. I am not too far from you all. I'm just down the road a bit in Massachusetts, right near Boston, and I've illustrated about 30 books, and written, of those 30 books, I've written and illustrated 5. So I did 5 where I did the words and the pictures. I hope that makes sense. Perhaps you've heard of some of them. Let me hold a few of them up. See if maybe you've seen or read or heard of perhaps Spoon. I illustrated that one for Amy Cross Rosenthal. Great story about finding what's special about yourself. I illustrated this book called Rescuing Jessica, written by Jessica Kensky and Patrick Downs, about life lived with a disability and the help of a service dog. Lovely, lovely story. If you have a chance to check that out, that's a great read-along story. What else we have here? The books that I've written and illustrated, here are 2 of them. One is called Linus the Little Yellow Pencil. And if you're like me, if you like to write or if you like to draw or both, and you find that sometimes it's super frustrating because your drawings don't come out the way that you want them to, or you don't know what to write about, you might check this book out. I think you might dig it. It's about this pencil who loves to draw, but it's also about his eraser who doesn't think that Linus's drawings are good enough. So he erases everything that Linus does. And so the story is about how they kind of come together and find a way forward to create together. And I don't know about you, but I definitely have that inner Ernie in me that tells me my drawings aren't good enough. So if you're like me and you feel that way sometimes, check that one out. And I also wrote this book called Breathe. It's about a beluga whale on his very first day swimming around. It's about kind of being in the moment, taking a breath, enjoying what's around us in the moment. Lots of underwater exploration in that one. And speaking of underwater exploration, we've got this one, Misunderstood Shark by the great Amy Dykeman. Very, very funny book. Lots of surprising shark facts in this one. So if you like sharks like me and underwater sea life, that one is a great one to check out. Let's see. Oh, I've got to tell you about my brand new, if you're a fan of graphic novels, I've got a brand new graphic novel coming out at the end of this month. It's called The Extinct's Quest for the Unicorn Horn. And it's about a team of de-extincted animals, you know, woolly mammoth, saber-toothed tiger, and so on. And they go on missions across the globe to retrieve artifacts, to help preserve endangered creatures. They've got all kinds of cool electric vehicles and so on and so forth. I think it's pretty fun. It's about 160 pages, so it might be a little long if you're used to shorter graphic novels, but I think it's pretty neat. Check it out. End of the month, March 29th. Today, though, we're going to read this one together. As part of our meeting today, we're going to read The Boy Who Cried Bigfoot. I don't know about you. Growing up in Maine, actually in Skowhegan, Maine, which is how I know Ms. Gleason, my brothers and I, we had this Bigfoot club, and we thought we'd go out in the woods and thought for sure we would find Bigfoot one day. And while we never did, we certainly heard a lot of weird noises that we couldn't explain in the woods. And that just really fired my imagination ever since. And I've always kind of wondered, is Bigfoot real? Is it not? And I had to do a book about it. So I kind of merged The Boy Who Cried Wolf with Bigfoot, my love for Bigfoot. And this is what I came up with. So what I'm going to do as we read this is I'm going to switch over and share my screen. So bear with me as I do that. So you'll be able to see the book right on the screen as we do that. So stand by. Here we go. It's called The Boy Who Cried Bigfoot by Scott Magoon. This is the story of my friend Ben and how we first met. And there's Ben riding his bike up the hill with his little dog. This is Ben. Ding, ding, goes his bike. Ben liked to tell stories. Look, everyone, Ben says, it's Bigfoot. And look at his dog. He's like looking everywhere. What's going on? Where? I don't see Bigfoot. He liked to tell stories. Wah, 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 goes the little sister. Well, I don't see him, says the other sister. And Ben's like, well, I could have sworn he was here. Ben liked to tell stories a lot. Bigfoot, he yells down the hill. And I love the dog expression here. He just looks like, are you kidding me? There's no dog. There's no Bigfoot. All that practice made him a pretty good storyteller. And, says Ben, he looked like this and he sounded like this. And he's kicking up the dust. And of course, the dog is looking up at the parents like, I don't believe this. And the parents are looking at each other like, I'm not sure if we can believe Ben. Let's see what happens next. He even used props. What a tenacious little fellow he was. And tenacious is a great word. It means someone who doesn't give up, someone kind of sticks to it. And despite adversity, despite difficulty, despite people not believing, he sticks to it. He's tenacious. And you can see he's using a little footprint maker to make Bigfoot tracks. He is very tenacious. People came from all over town to see Bigfoot. They waited and they waited, but the creature never appeared. He walked right through here. See? And of course, he's pointing at the footprints that he made. Oh my goodness, Ben. After many hours with no sightings, everyone suspected that Ben had made it all up. Bigfoot isn't real. He is real, says Ben. His feet were this big. He was right here. I saw him. And I love this dog's expression in particular down here. Definitely a Snoopy moment there for Ben's dog. Oops. Back out. There we go. And here's the moment where Ben and his dog look at each other like, what is going on? Why are you lying so much? And Ben's like, why are you judging? Let's see what happens next. Crick goes a sound in the forest, just like the ones I heard when I was little. I don't remember ever crossing paths with you, Littlefoot, I said. And here comes Bigfoot out of the forest. And it's actually Bigfoot that's been telling us the story the whole time. He's been the narrator from the beginning. It's told from his point of view. I don't normally talk to a Littlefoot, says Bigfoot, but there was something about this Ben I liked. He was a determined fellow. I also liked his bike. I asked him, mind if I take it for a ride? And Ben says, Bigfoot? Bigfoot, Ben says. Bigfoot! Bigfoot is stealing my bike! He's yelling down the hill. Coming with? Says Bigfoot. It looks like the dog is ready to go. And my dog, says Ben. And there they go off of Ben's bike into the woods. Alas, no one believed Ben anymore. No one came running. It seemed Ben found being alone to be a little scary. Ding, ding. Of course, that's Ben's bike in the woods being enjoyed by Bigfoot and his dog. Fortunately for Ben, he wasn't alone for long. Ben, cries his mother, come home. It's time for dinner. And it was time for me to go home too, says Bigfoot. I'm sorry I created such a ruckus, Ben said, but I really did see him, Mom. Oh, Ben, she said, let's go home. Not sure that Mom believes Ben at this point. But look, you can kind of see this. You see the sister? She's looking up at something. And if you follow her eye line up into the trees, you can see that she sees Bigfoot kind of peering through the trees there. So Ben and his family went home and had a hot meal. Well, I don't know what a hot meal is, says Bigfoot, but I do know that Ben learned the importance of always telling the truth. And he wanted everyone to know he really had seen me. So the next morning, he set out to prove it. What a tenacious fellow he is. And there goes Ben into the woods carrying his film camera, an audio recorder, tape recorder. And then look, if you look on the far left, his little sister is there to keep him company. I'm sure she will accompany him into the forest to document Bigfoot in the woods. And that is the end. But I want you to check this out. This is the back end pages, and they're different from the front. The front end pages had just the big Bigfoot prints, but if you look closely now, it's got Ben's footprints as though he's tracking him, and his dog's footprints as though he's tracking Bigfoot. Just a little detail there I included in the back, and that's the end. I hope you like that. Let me come back to you guys now, and if we can, I'd love to answer any questions if that's something you want to do about anything we talked about or I've shown. In a minute, I'm going to do some drawing for you, but I thought it would be great to take a moment to answer your questions.
Go ahead, Mrs. Hooper's class.
Front screen.
So I had a question.
Okay, hi. What's your name?
My name is Mackenzie.
Hi, Mackenzie. Go ahead.
What is the favorite book you wrote, written or illustrated?
Right. Great question. Tough one to answer because, gosh, it's like each book is like it's like a little child of mine almost. I love them all. I love them all in different ways, though. Some I might like the colors, another one I might like the characters, but I really like Linus, that book I was showing you before about drawing. I think that's a great book, especially if you like to draw. And I also love Rescue and Jessica. I think that's a really special book based on a true story, which is different from any other book that I've done. And so for that reason in particular, it's really special to me. Great question. Thank you, Mackenzie.
And now we have a question from Mrs. Gosselins' class.
Okay.
Is it hard to get your book published?
It can be. Yeah, great question. What's your name?
My name is Quentin Cara. My
Nice.
mom is a writer and is getting her first real book published.
That's so exciting. Congratulations to her. She must be so excited. That's great. It is difficult, and it can take many years. And sometimes people work their whole lives and don't get a book published. So it is difficult. It is a little bit easier these days because there's newer ways to kind of publish yourself and get your story out there without a traditional publishing company. You can self-publish. There are ways of doing that.
Yeah, Mom.
Go ahead.
Mom said that costs a lot of money.
It
when
can.
I asked.
That's a great question. And yes, she's right. It can, especially when it comes time to advertising it and promoting it and getting it out into the world so that people know about it. That can cost a lot as well. And in addition to the printing costs. So it can be difficult. So your mom should be, and you should be very proud of her too. I'm sure you are. But that's awesome. Thanks for telling me that. That's great.
And now we have a question from Mrs. Wormley's class.
What is your favorite subject to do?
Right. Oh my goodness. I love books that, I don't know if I have a particular favorite subject. I love history, first of all. I have not really done a book that's based on a historical event. I would love to do that. All of my books kind of have a similar theme though, where they're very hopeful books, I think. And I love to put books out into the world that have very hopeful endings, that things will be okay or eventually will be okay. I think that's something that I look for in all of the books that I do or try to write. I think that's really important. But I also like funny books. I think that those are so much fun to draw, to bring my humor into the visual, the pictures of the story is really gratifying, really fun to do. I don't know. I'd like to do more graphic novels. I think that'd be neat. I think that'd be really neat. Yeah. Great question. Thank you.
And now Mrs. Komalanian's class.
What is your most recent book you ever made?
Great question. What's your name? Nice to meet you. The most recent book I made, oh my goodness, I'm working on it. I was actually working on it this morning. It's called Unflappable, and it's about a couple birds who don't fly. They're flightless birds, but they want to fly. They can't fly yet, is what they say. And it's a book about the power of yet, you know, the working towards something, not giving up your dreams, your hopes, and achieving those dreams and hopes through hard work, through trial and error, succeeding and failing. And again, it's got that theme I was just talking about of being a very hopeful book. It's really fun drawing the birds and the various contraptions that they're using to try to fly. That's really, really cool. Yeah, it's a good one. It'll be out, gosh, if I finish it in time, it'll be out probably in a little over a year. That's how long, books take about a year to, from when they're finished by the illustrator to come out in bookstores and libraries. So it'll be a while, but thanks for that question. I appreciate that.
And from Miss Roll's class.
I'm Hank. How many graphic novels have you made?
Oh my goodness, just the one so far. Well, actually, no, I take that back. There's one that's coming out, but I just finished the second one a few weeks ago. So there will be two in the same series. But I'd love to do more. Do you like graphic novels?
Have you ever read any?
What do you like about them? Can you tell me?
I like they're interesting to me because I always wanted to try out comic books. They're kind of like a comic book.
Right, they are, aren't they? Yeah, that's great. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Keep reading that stuff. It's reading is reading. That's great. Glad to hear it. Thank you.
Can we ask one more question?
Of course. Well, I think so.
Okay. Go ahead, Royce.
Hi, my name's Royce, and have you ever read any more books to other people?
Like to other classes, schools?
Oh, hey, Royce. I have. Yeah, I was at a school yesterday, as a matter of fact. Yeah. Have you had other authors?
Yeah.
Not here.
Oh, not here.
Okay. At other places, though. That's cool. What do you think?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks, Royce.
And now a question from Mrs. Mundy's class.
Hi. We noticed your space stuff in the back, so we had a question about.
Oh, yes. I've got a few.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brendan,
Yeah.
wanna ask a question?
Alligator.
What did you want to ask?
How many days does it take you to write a book?
Oh, wow. That's a great one. It depends on the book. For a picture book, which is usually like 32 pages to 40 pages, oh, gosh, I don't know. It could take anywhere from, I mean, it's never happened to me, but I know of some authors who take a day to write a book. And I know some authors who take years to write picture books. So it really depends. For me, it would be, I would say average about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months to write it. And then about the same to illustrate it, probably a little bit longer, probably like 6 or 7 months. Graphic novels take about a year, I think, though, because there's so much more writing, of course, and so much drawing involved with it, of course, right?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for your question.
And now a question from Mrs. Simon's class.
How do you make the characters look like Bigfoot and Ben? Like exactly look like Ben?
Right. Well, fortunately, no one really knows exactly what Bigfoot looks like or who this Ben character is. So I have a lot of, I have a little, wiggle room when it comes to making characters look like these creatures. But you're right. I mean, we kind of have an idea of what Bigfoot looks like. He's big and hairy. I can show you more how I draw stuff in a moment, but really it's really fun for me to draw on an iPad digitally. All of my drawings, I don't use paint, I don't use pencils, I use what's called pixels. I draw on a computer screen. And I love it because you can try all kinds of different brushes and colors, and you don't have to erase it. You don't have to grab a new piece of paper. You can experiment. You can try different ways of drawing the same character. So I really tried a couple different ways of drawing Bigfoot until I got to the one that I liked. It was a lot of practice. It was not just one drawing. It was a couple of different drawings where I kind of, made sure he was looking the way I thought he should look. Do you like to draw as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like to when you do a drawing, do you just do one drawing of that drawing, or do you do a couple practice drawings? Either way is cool. I'm just curious.
I do a couple practice drawings.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, that's what we do. That's what I do as well, and that helps me get towards those characters that you saw. Yeah, so I think you're on the right track. If you want to do the same thing, I would say keep doing that. Thank you.
Thank
Great. We have 3 more questions, and then we'll let Mr. Magoon do his drawings for us because that's exciting as well. So,
Okay.
Mrs. class.
My name's Noah, and my question is, how many books have you wrote in a year?
Yeah. Oh man, Noah, that's a good one. I usually write. I try to write at least. In the past couple of years, I've tried to write at least one. With the graphic novels, I almost had to write 2 a year. So it really depends. It really depends. Are you a writer as well? Do you like to write?
Not really.
Do you like
Can we
to?
ask more questions?
Yeah.
Ray,
Sure.
come on up.
Thanks for your question. No.
Say hi, I'm Bryson.
Hi, I'm Bryson, and what made you want to write?
Yeah, great question. It's different for everybody. For me, I've always loved to put words and pictures together, so that's part of it. Love to draw, love to write, and I just want to mix the two. But lately, it's been because I really have something to say, and I think with the Extincts book, the graphic novel in particular, at its heart, it's really about family and friendship and facing the truth. All things that I've kind of wrestled with and felt deeply, especially over the past 2 years with the pandemic. So that really kind of guided me in the way I wrote the Extincts book. Something like Boy Who Cried Bigfoot, it was kind of the reasons I was mentioning earlier, where I just love Bigfoot and I want to put that character into a book. But lately, I want to put a book out in the world that the world can use and need and really kind of identify with and connect with. And I hope that readers connect with these characters in this book because I put a lot of my own personality into them. So I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now a question from Mrs. Campbell's class.
All right, Jackson.
How do you get it so perfect without mistakes?
Oh my goodness. Thanks for thinking it's so perfect. I like to. That's so kind. Thank you. I feel like I'm still learning how to draw, you guys. I feel like I've been drawing for many, many years, and I know that I can be even better. And that's one of the reasons why I love to draw is that it's a lifelong pursuit. It's a lifelong. It can be a lifelong hobby. It can be a lifelong trade. But to try to answer your question, I draw every day for hours, and I look at tons of other artworks in museums and books online, and Instagram has incredible artists that post their work every single day. So all of those things, and then other ways of getting inspired too is important to me. Listening to music, I have a record player here that I listen to a lot of music that kind of gets me going and inspires me and keeps me want to try new things in my drawing. Yeah. Are you an artist as well? Do you like to draw too?
Yeah.
Of course. What's one thing that you like to draw? Not to put you on the spot, but what do you like to draw?
I don't know yet, but I just like to draw anything I really want to.
Love it, man. That's so good. Hey, I got to tell you a little tip. Whatever gets you to that drawing table is good. It doesn't have to be one thing. It can be a million things, but whatever gets you back there, you're doing the right thing. So thank you for your question. Keep drawing.
Okay.
Thank you.
And our last question from Mrs. Gosselins class.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
Go ahead, Lillian.
You already know I have a question. What was your first book that you have ever made?
Oh yeah. You mean as a grown-up? Doing professionally? Yeah. Because the first book I did, it wasn't really a book, but I wish it was a book, was when I was 8, and it was called Hot Dog and Big Head Meets Dracula. That was my first book I did when I was little. And then my first book as a grown-up was called Ugly Fish, and it was written by Cara LaRoe. and it's still in print, still out there. It's pretty funny. And the first book I wrote and illustrated was called Hugo and Miles and I've Painted Everything. And it was about this elephant who thinks he's painted everything. He's run out of things to paint because he's painted everything, which of course is not true. You can never run out of things to paint. So it's really a story about being creative about, or it's really a story about being inspired and finding inspiration everywhere. So yeah, thanks. Do you like to write as well?
Yeah, and I really like to draw.
Oh, okay, good. You like to do both. That's so good. Do you have some, are you working on a book right now?
Well, not a real book, but I do write a lot.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I hope you keep at it. That's so cool to hear. Maybe someday I'll read one of your books.
Mhm.
That'd be awesome.
And my
That'd be
name
awesome.
is Lillian.
Okay, I'll be on the lookout in the future.
Thank
I want to
you.
be a writer when I grow up.
Oh my goodness, music to my ears. Thanks for telling me. That's awesome. Should I do a little drawing for you guys? What do you think? Yeah? Okay. I'm going to draw right on my iPad, and it's going to be a nice little demo, I hope, of how I draw for reals when I draw my books. So let me share my screen, and I'm going to jump over to Procreate, which is my drawing app, and bear with me as we do that. And I'm going to try to draw the shark from Misunderstood Shark. It's a great, I could draw Bigfoot, but I think the shark is a nicer drawing demonstration of using shapes and keeping it simple and colors and so on and so forth. So here we are in Procreate. Some of you might know this app. It's a pretty common app. And it's what I use to draw my books. In fact, let me just show you really quickly. Let me get this out of the way. If you go to my gallery, you can see all of my drawings that I've got going on in here. Here's that book I was just telling you about. I'm working on, it's called Unflappable. Oops. Up there, you can see some of the drawings that I'm working on right now for that bird book I was telling you about. Still in progress. Coming along nicely though. And then you can see, oh gosh, I think I've got tons of, yeah. This is some of my graphic novel pages that I'm working on, or have worked on, I should say. Of course, it doesn't have the word balloons in it because you don't really draw those. You use a whole different program for that. But yeah, I think it's going to be pretty good. All right, so that's just to prove to you that I do, in fact, use this app. It's amazing. It's got tons of different drawing tools, pens, brushes, airbrushes, chisels, spatters, all kinds of cool stuff. But today, I'm going to use a pencil, keep it really simple. And we're going to draw a shark from Misunderstood Shark. I'm going to show you how to do that. Draw like a nice circle in the center, like this. Already, I've started in the wrong place. I've too close to the center, so I can grab the circle I just drew and move it a little bit this way, so we have a little more space. And I'm going to make my line a little thicker. I'm going to come off the side of it like this. And once I add, and you can see simple shapes, we're just starting with like a funnel shape, adding a crescent moon shape. Now it's starting to look a little more fish-like, and you can kind of see maybe where I'm going with this. Triangles next for dorsal fins, pectoral fins, and even his snout is going to be a triangle shape. But I made it purposely, I made it small on purpose here because I want to show you something cool that you can do with your with drawing here in Procreate. I'm going to select my little selection tool there in the upper left. I'm going to zoom in. Oh, let me zoom way in. Let me go in really close to show you how these drawings are made up. I mentioned I don't use pens, I don't use pencils or paints, I use pixels. And these little squares that you see here, those are pixels. It kind of looks like Minecraft, but that's what these drawings are made up of. Millions and millions, maybe even billions of those teeny tiny little squares called pixels. Okay. So I'm going to select this snout because it's a little small. I could erase it. You know, traditional drawing, you'd probably just erase it, but I'm going to do something else that digital drawing lets you do, which is to kind of scale it using the scale tool. And you can kind of just slowly make it bigger, make it bigger, make it bigger until you realize, okay, that's probably big enough right about there. digital drawing lets you what's called pre-visualize your drawing in a way. It's really, really fun to work this way. And it's quite different from, you know, traditional pen and paper where you just erase something and draw it again. All right, let's give him some eyes. Maybe he's looking kind of over here a little bit. Okay. And he's got a nice big mouth. He's got 4 teeth, which are just 2 W's side by side. Or actually, you can flip it over and make it an M. Again, I show you this just to show you how simple the shapes are. It can even be letters. That's how simple these shapes are. But it's how they're used in combination with each other that counts, right? 3 lines for his gills. I'm going to show you something else that's kind of cool. That's eyebrows. Eyebrows are amazing for quickly adding expression to your character. Before I do that, let me give him a little friend over here, a little fish friend for him to react to. Okay, I'll have some bubbles maybe. All right, so right now we've got Shark. He's kind of looking down at that fish, and let's give him some eyebrows. Okay, and right now maybe Shark could be saying, "Hey, fish, you look great. Let's go for a swim. Let's go for lunch." Right? But what happens when I take those same eyebrows? And I can do this because these eyebrows, I do them on their own layer. It's kind of like a separate piece of paper within this drawing. So I'm going to take those eyebrows using my move tool, and I can move them down over Shark's eyes like this. And let me just see if I can, well, let's angle them a little bit, see what we can get. Right? Now Shark kind of seems to be saying, "Hey, fish, you look delicious. Let's go for some lunch." So if you experiment with where your eyebrows are on your character's face, you'll be amazed at how much expression you can get out of your character with just the eyebrows, playing with the eyebrows. Okay, let's merge those 2. And I'm going to clean this up a little bit, erase those lines that I had early on that I don't need so much right now. And I'm going to add this line here. This is sort of to indicate the blue color on top of the shark and the white belly of the shark. We can add some bubbles if you want. We can even add some color. Let's do that. Let's add this nice blue color. I've got 16 million colors from which to choose, by the way. 16 million. I could never use that many. So what you can do is you can take a picture or a color that you like, drag it down into that checkerboard area, and that will give you a much more manageable list of colors to choose from. All right, so I'm going to pick this nice blue color. I'm not going to worry about staying in the lines. I'm actually going to kind of go outside of the lines because I think that gives your character, you know, within reason, a little movement, a little energy. And I think that's what's really important about, really important for picture book characters in particular, and in graphic novels, is giving your characters a little life, a little movement, little imperfections here and there. I think that adds a lot of personality, and it makes it look more natural, I think, than say some digital art. So I really strive to make my digital art look like it's a little more hand painted. That looks a little light, so I'm going to go over it again and add maybe a little bit of shading here like this. Looks a little more 3D. It's still not quite enough though, so I think what I could do is grab a darker blue and go back over it a 3rd time. There we go. Now you can see it starts to look a little more 3-dimensional. It's a little rough, it's a little quick, but hopefully you get the idea. Yeah, there we go. And you can add even more shading. Let's see, let's try that. Let me add another layer. We'll do black. I'll go back to my pencil tool, and I'm going to hold my pencil. You can't see this from where you are, but I'm going to hold my pencil tool at an angle against the screen, just like I would a real pencil on a piece of paper if I wanted to do some shading. And I'm adding some kind of pencil shading here and there. See that? That gives it a little even more depth. Let me see if I can get in there. There we go. Yeah. See that? Pretty cool, right? Now, of course, we have to add some color for the for this guy, the goldfish, of course. I'm just going to do that. And I don't know if you can see on your screens, but if I zoom in, you can kind of see like subtle shifts in tone. You see darker areas of orange and then lighter areas of orange, much like you would if you were using real paint. These tools have come so far, these digital drawing tools, in the past, I would say 10 years. They're only getting better. They're probably only going to continue to improve. So when you guys are drawing your books digitally, these tools are going to be even more awesome, which is really exciting to think about. All right. I think that's pretty much it. Well, let me show you one more quick thing in this app that's really neat. It's this time-lapse replay. I go here, and the top line says time-lapse replay. If I tap that, it replays your whole drawing from beginning to end. So you can see all the steps that you took in making your drawing. You can actually export this as a movie and email that to your friends or your art teachers or your folks, whoever you think might enjoy watching you draw. It's a really neat little feature. All right, and I think with that, let me jump back over to you guys and let me stop my sharing so you can see me again, which, you know, might not be a great thing, but all right, here we are. Okay, so I don't know if we have time for one or two more questions or what, about and maybe something you saw while I was drawing or whatever you'd like.
Do you have time?
Yeah, I've got like, you know, I don't know, like 3 minutes.
Okay. Miss Rose's class left. Let's see. Miss Gosselins' class has their hand raised.
When did you start drawing, and how many
Right.
years did you?
I know,
How many
yeah.
years have you been doing it, and how
Right.
many years have you been doing it?
It feels like a long time. Like I started in the 1900s, right? It was a long time ago. You know, I was born in the 1900s. So it's been a long time. But I've been professionally drawing books since, oh gosh, I think 2006. So what is that? Several years. I had a comic strip in college in the mid 1990s. That was kind of my first paying job. I had a comic strip called Duct Tape Man. And that was the first time where I got paid to draw. And I was like, wow, that's really neat. I can get paid to create artwork. So it's kind of all been uphill, downhill. The rest is history, shall we say. Let's put it that way.
Do you have time for another?
Sure, let's do one more. And then I'll have to sign off.
The Supers class.
Hi, my name is Macy, and I had a question. Do you like writing books that have music? Because you have a book called, what's it called? Chirp. That's the book. And
Yes.
I actually write my own music and write books and stuff like that. Yeah, that book. I love that book because it includes music.
Thanks. Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking, Macy. I love music. I listen to it all of the time. I think I mentioned I have my record player here. It's one of the things I look for actually in a lot of my books when I go to illustrate them. Does it have a musical component to it? Because I love that mixing of music and reading and storytelling. So yeah, great, very insightful. I'm glad you picked up on that. I would love to do more books about music, but here's the trick. It's hard to represent music in a drawing. You know, see here, I've got this chipmunk singing. The swirls are happening, and it's just really difficult to express how wonderful music is. Here he is singing a song at night. Here he's singing a song in the morning. To express music sung or played or expressed on paper. So that's always kind of held me back from doing too many music books. But that's a great question. Thank you for asking. I'm glad you like that chirp book. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This has been wonderful. I'm sure the kids agree. If all the teachers want to turn on their mic and say thank you to Scott, you can certainly do that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.